The pounding on my door at 3 in the morning jolted me awake. 2 police officers stood there, faces grim. My brand-new Mustang GT, the car I had saved 3 years for, had been in a serious accident. The driver, my 19-year-old brother Noah, now in the hospital with multiple injuries. But the real shock came when my parents arrived and pulled me aside. They wanted me to tell the police I was driving, that I had let Noah borrow my car. Their reason prison would ruin his football career while I had nothing to lose. Before I continue this family nightmare, drop a comment letting me know where you are watching from. Hit that like button if you have ever had to stand your ground against family pressure, and subscribe if you want more stories about maintaining your integrity when everyone expects you to sacrifice it. Growing up in our household meant understanding one simple fact: Noah was the golden child, and I was just the older brother. I am Lester now, 28 years old, working as a mechanical engineer for a manufacturing company in Detroit. Unlike my brother, I never had natural talent for sports. My abilities were quieter, less flashy. I was good at math, enjoyed taking things apart to see how they worked, and preferred reading to partying. From a young age, it became clear where our parents' priorities lay. When I was 12, they missed my honor roll ceremony to attend Noah's football game, even though he was only a third-string player at the time. By high school, the pattern was firmly established. My 18th birthday dinner was cut short because Noah had an unexpected practice session. The money my grandparents had left specifically for my college education was instead used to buy Noah a truck when he turned 16, because, as my father said, he needs to look good for the college scouts. I put myself through engineering school on scholarships and part-time jobs, working nights and weekends, while maintaining a 3.8 GPA. Meanwhile, Noah breezed through high school on his natural athletic ability, barely maintaining the grades needed to stay eligible for sports. But he was charismatic, handsome, and talented on the field. Everyone from our parents to teachers to neighbors would say that Noah is going places, and they were right. By his senior year, Noah had college scouts attending every game. He eventually accepted a full-ride scholarship to a Division I school with a prominent football program. The celebration lasted for weeks. When I graduated with honors from engineering school that same year, my parents gave me a card with a $50 gift certificate to a restaurant chain. Despite this obvious favoritism, I maintained a relationship with my family. I accepted that this was just how things were and focused on building my own life. After 3 years at my job with consistent raises and bonuses, I finally saved enough for the one thing I had wanted since childhood: a Ford Mustang GT fire engine, red with black racing stripes, and a custom exhaust system that rumbled like thunder. The day I drove it home was one of the proudest moments of my life, something I had earned entirely on my own merit with no help from anyone. Noah was home from college that weekend and immediately wanted to take it for a spin. I refused, knowing his history with vehicles. He had already totaled his truck and was on his second car, courtesy of our parents. His driving record included 3 speeding tickets and 1 reckless driving charge that our father, a well-connected businessman in our small town, had managed to get reduced. "Come on, bro," Noah had pleaded. "Just around the block. I promise I will be careful." "Sorry, no one drives this car but me," I told him firmly. This led to a typical family argument where my parents suggested I was being selfish and petty. "It is just a car," my mother said. "You know how much cars mean to Noah." I stood my ground that day, and for the 6 months that followed, Noah asked to drive my Mustang at least a dozen times, and each time I refused. It created tension during family gatherings, but this was one area where I would not budge. Looking back, I should have noticed the way Noah would stare at my car, the barely concealed jealousy in his eyes. I should have been more careful with where I kept my spare key. But hindsight, as they say, is 20/20. The weekend of the accident, I was in Chicago for a work conference. I had left early Friday morning, carefully locking my apartment and making sure my car was secure in the garage. The conference was productive, and I was feeling good about some networking opportunities that had come up. Saturday night around 9, my phone started buzzing with calls from Noah. I let them go to voicemail, assuming he was once again going to ask to borrow my car, not realizing I was out of town. Then calls started coming in from numbers I did not recognize, but appeared to be from my hometown. Again, I ignored them, planning to sort everything out in the morning. At 3 in the morning, the loud knocking at my hotel room door startled me awake. Confused and disoriented, I opened it to find 2 Chicago police officers. They explained they were there at the request of the police department in my hometown. There had been a serious accident involving my vehicle, and I needed to call home immediately. With shaking hands, I dialed the number they provided. The officer who answered explained that my Mustang had been involved in a major collision. The driver had been identified as my brother Noah, who was now in the hospital with multiple injuries, including a broken leg and severe lacerations. But he was not the only victim. Noah had 3 passengers in the car, including his best friend Tyler, who had sustained a traumatic brain injury and was in critical condition. Worse still, my car had collided with another vehicle, injuring a couple returning from their anniversary dinner. The husband had suffered multiple broken bones. According to witnesses, Noah had been driving at speeds approaching 90 miles per hour in a 35 zone. When tested at the hospital, his blood alcohol level was nearly twice the legal limit. He was facing multiple felony charges, driving under the influence, reckless endangerment, grand theft auto, and more. I sat on the edge of the hotel bed, trying to process this information. My car, my pride and joy was destroyed. People were seriously injured. And my brother was facing years in prison. The officer asked when I would be returning home, as they needed my statement about the vehicle. I booked the first flight back, scheduled to land at 11 that morning. During the flight, I pieced together what must have happened. Noah and his friends, likely already intoxicated, had somehow gained access to my apartment, perhaps through the building manager who knew we were brothers, or maybe Noah still had the spare key from when he had stayed with me briefly last summer. They had taken my car keys and decided to go joy riding in my Mustang, the car I had repeatedly refused to let Noah drive. When I landed, I had 17 missed calls from my parents. I texted them that I was heading straight to the hospital and would meet them there. The drive from the airport gave me time to think, to process my anger and disappointment. By the time I arrived, I had resolved to be firm but understanding with Noah. He had made a terrible mistake that had hurt people and would have serious consequences, but he was still my brother. What I was not prepared for was my parents' reaction. As soon as I walked into the waiting room, my father pulled me into a side conference room where my mother was already waiting. Their faces were not filled with apology or regret, but with determination. "Lester, we need to talk about how we are going to handle this." My father began, his voice steady and businesslike. "Noah made a mistake, but his whole future is at stake here." I stared at him confused. His future? Daddy stole my car, drove drunk, and put multiple people in the hospital. What about their futures? My mother reached out to take my hand. "Sweetheart, we know this is upsetting. Your car can be replaced. Insurance will cover it." "This is not about the car," I said, pulling my hand away. "This is about Noah making terrible decisions and needing to face the consequences." My father cleared his throat. "That is what we want to discuss. The consequences. Noah is looking at serious charges here, felonies, with prison time." "As he should," I replied. "He committed serious crimes. If he goes to prison, his football career is over, his scholarship gone, all his hard work and potential wasted, his whole life ruined before it even begins." I could not believe what I was hearing. "So what exactly are you suggesting?" My father leaned forward, lowering his voice. "We need you to tell the police that you gave Noah permission to drive your car, that you knew he was going to that party and let him take the Mustang." The room seemed to tilt slightly. "You want me to lie to the police? To commit a crime myself?" "Not a lie exactly," my mother interjected. "Just a different perspective on what happened. Brothers share things all the time. He stole my car. After I repeatedly told him he could not drive it, my father's face hardened. Lester, this is your brother we are talking about. Your flesh and blood. He made a mistake, yes, but he does not deserve to have his life destroyed over one bad night. And what about my life, I asked. If I say I gave him permission, I could be liable for the damages and injuries. My insurance might not cover it. I could be charged as an accessory. We will handle all that, my father said dismissively. The important thing is protecting Noah's future. My mother's eyes filled with tears. Please, Lester. As his big brother, it is your job to look out for him, to protect him. I stood up, needing physical distance from their manipulation. No, it is not my job to lie for him or to protect him from the consequences of stealing, driving drunk, and nearly killing multiple people. My father stood as well, his face reddening. If you do not do this for your brother, do not bother considering yourself part of this family anymore. I mean it, Lester. This is what family does. We protect our own, whatever it takes. I looked from his angry face to my mother's tearful one. Even if it means asking your other son to risk prison himself to lie to the police and potentially ruin his life instead, your life is already established, my mother said. You have your job, your apartment. Noah has his whole future ahead of him. He cannot lose that now. The implication was clear. My life and future were less valuable than Noah's potential. It was the same message I had received my entire life, just stated more explicitly than usual. I will not lie to the police, I said firmly. Noah needs to take responsibility for what he did. That is what will help him in the long run, not another bailout. My father pointed his finger at me. If you talk to the police, you tell them you gave permission. End of discussion. Or, you are no longer my son. With those words hanging in the air, he stormed out of the room. My mother gave me one last pleading look before following him, leaving me alone with the weight of their expectations and my own determination not to bend to them this time. The next few hours were a blur of police interviews, insurance calls, and hospital visits. I gave my statement to the officers honestly. Noah did not have permission to take my car. I had repeatedly denied his requests to drive it. I was out of town at a conference in Chicago at the time of the accident, which I could prove with flight tickets, hotel receipts, and conference registration. The police were sympathetic, but professional. They explained that based on witness statements and evidence at the scene, Noah would be facing multiple charges once medically cleared. The most serious were the DUI causing bodily harm and the grand theft auto. When I returned to the hospital after giving my statement, my parents were waiting. My father grabbed my arm and pulled me into an empty stairwell. "What did you tell them?" he demanded. "The truth, that Noah took my car without permission while I was in Chicago." His face contorted with rage. "You ungrateful, selfish." He could barely speak. "After everything we have done for you." I almost laughed. "What exactly have you done for me, Dad? I put myself through college. I built my career on my own. I bought my own car, which Noah just destroyed. We raised you," he spat. "Put a roof over your head. And this is how you repay us. By throwing your brother to the wolves." Noah threw himself to the wolves when he broke into my apartment and stole my car, when he drove drunk and injured innocent people. My father jabbed a finger into my chest. "This is not over. I will not let you ruin your brother's life over a stupid car." He stormed off, already pulling out his phone and dialing. I later learned he was calling his golf buddy, who worked at the district attorney's office, attempting to leverage connections to minimize Noah's charges. My mother's approach was different, but equally manipulative. She found me in the cafeteria, her eyes red from crying. "Lester, please reconsider. Noah made a terrible mistake, but he is so sorry. He was asking for you earlier. He needs his big brother now more than ever." I stirred my coffee, already cold and untouched. "Mom, I love Noah. I always have, despite how you and Dad have treated us differently our whole lives. But loving him does not mean helping him avoid the consequences of his actions. But prison, she whispered, horror in her voice. My baby in prison. I cannot bear it. Maybe it will not come to that, I said, though I doubted it given the severity of the charges. But whatever happens, it will be based on what Noah did not, on me lying to protect him. My mother's face hardened, the vulnerability vanishing. You have always been jealous of Noah, always resented his gifts, his popularity. This is your revenge, is not it? The accusation stung, especially coming from the woman who had given birth to both of us, but clearly valued only one. This is not about jealousy. It is about right and wrong, about responsibility. She stood up. When Noah was 7 and broke your science project, you took the blame because you knew how upset he would be about being punished. What happened to that caring big brother I grew up? And Noah needs to grow up too. After she left, I called my friend Marcus, a lawyer, who had helped me with the purchase agreement for my car. I explained the situation, including my parents' pressure to lie. Do not even think about it, he advised firmly. Never lie to the police. Based on what you have told me, Noah is facing serious charges, regardless of whether you gave permission or not. The DUI and reckless driving are the major issues here. But if you lie about giving permission, you could face charges yourself for filing a false police report, and your insurance would likely deny any claims, leaving you financially responsible for all damages and medical bills. His professional assessment confirmed what I already knew in my gut. Standing firm was not just about principle, but also about protecting myself from being dragged down by Noah's actions. Marcus agreed to represent me if needed, and suggested I limit contact with my parents until things settled down. That advice became even more relevant when later that evening I received a call from the detective handling Noah's case. My father had been arrested for attempting to bribe an officer to lose evidence related to Noah's blood alcohol test. His exact words apparently were, "My son's future is worth more than your monthly salary. Name your price." So now, not only was Noah facing serious charges, but my father was also in legal trouble. My mother called hysterical, demanding I bail him out and find him a lawyer. I explained that interfering with a police investigation was a serious charge, and my father needed a criminal defense attorney, not his engineer son. "This is all your fault," she sobbed. "If you had just agreed to help your brother, your father would not have had to take such desperate measures." I hung up, unable to tolerate any more blame shifting. In the space of 24 hours, my car had been destroyed. My brother had seriously injured multiple people while drunk driving. My father had been arrested for attempted bribery, and my mother had all but disowned me for refusing to take the fall. It was surreal, like a nightmare I could not wake up from. But beneath the shock and stress, I felt something unexpected: relief. The family dynamics that had been silently suffocating me for years were now out in the open. The unfairness, the conditional love, the expectation that I should always sacrifice for Noah, all laid bare by this crisis. For perhaps the first time in my adult life, I was standing firm on my own principles, refusing to be manipulated or diminished. The next several weeks were a whirlwind of legal proceedings, insurance claims, and family drama. Noah was charged with DUI, causing bodily harm, grand theft, auto, reckless endangerment, and driving with a suspended license, a detail I had not known before. Apparently, he had lost his license 3 months earlier for accumulating too many points from speeding tickets. My father, released on bail, was charged with attempted bribery of a public official and obstruction of justice. His business connections, which had always shielded the family from consequences in our small town, were working against him now, as the prosecutor seemed determined to make an example of him. The injured parties from the other vehicle hired a personal injury attorney and filed a lawsuit against Noah, my parents, and initially me as the vehicle owner. Thanks to Marcus's intervention and the police report clearly stating the vehicle was taken without permission, I was eventually removed from the lawsuit. My insurance covered the vehicle loss but denied liability claims due to the unauthorized use, leaving my parents potentially on the hook for hundreds of thousands in medical bills and damages. Throughout this period, the pressure from my family intensified. Aunts, uncles, and cousins called to berate me for not helping Noah out or keeping it in the family. Few seemed concerned about the actual victims of Noah's reckless behavior or the fact that what my parents wanted me to do was commit a crime myself. The most surprising support came from my mother's younger sister, Aunt Claire. She called one evening speaking quietly, as if afraid of being overheard. "Lester, I want you to know that I think you are doing the right thing. Your mother and father have always favored Noah to an unhealthy degree. What they are asking you to do is wrong on every level." Her words brought unexpected tears to my eyes. "Thanks, Aunt Claire. Sometimes I feel like I am going crazy, like I am the only one who sees how messed up this is. You are not crazy. Their behavior has always been inappropriate, asking one child to continuously sacrifice for the other. I tried to talk to your mother about it years ago, but she refused to hear it. This situation is just the culmination of a lifetime of unfair expectations." With Aunt Claire's support and a small circle of loyal friends, I weathered the storm. I changed my phone number, limited my social media presence, and focused on rebuilding my life post-accident. I used some of my savings to buy a used Honda Civic, not nearly as exciting as my Mustang, but reliable transportation until I could afford something better. 6 months after the accident, I received an unexpected letter postmarked from the county detention center where Noah was being held awaiting trial. His handwriting, usually careless and sloppy, was neat and precise. "Dear Lester, I know you probably do not want to hear from me, and I would not blame you if you threw this letter away without reading it. But I have to try to tell you how sorry I am. What I did was inexcusable. I stole from you, betrayed your trust, endangered lives, and then expected you to clean up my mess. Even worse, I let Mom and Dad try to pressure you into taking the blame. I have had a lot of time to think in here about the kind of person I have been and the kind of person I want to be. For most of my life, I have skated by on talent and charm, expecting others to fix my mistakes. Mom and Dad always made excuses for me, so I never had to face consequences. I never developed character or integrity. You are the opposite. You worked hard for everything you have. You never took shortcuts or expected handouts. You built a life you can be proud of. I always envied that about you, even while I was benefiting from the double standard in our family. I do not expect forgiveness. What I did hurt too many people, including you, but I want you to know that I am pleading guilty to all charges, no more excuses or evasions. I am facing the consequences of my actions for the first time in my life, and as terrifying as it is, it also feels like the first honest thing I have done in years. Whatever happens with my legal situation, I hope that someday we might have some kind of relationship again, but that will be up to you, and I will respect your decision either way. Your brother Noah. I read the letter multiple times, emotions swirling. There was anger still, certainly, hurt and betrayal, but also a glimmer of hope that perhaps this horrific experience might be the wake-up call Noah needed. After a few days of reflection, I decided to visit him at the detention center. The brother I found there was almost unrecognizable. The cocky swagger was gone, replaced by a quiet humility. He had lost weight, and his usually perfectly styled hair was cropped short, but the biggest change was in his eyes. They held a seriousness, a weight of responsibility I had never seen there before. "Thank you for coming," he said, his voice catching slightly. "I honestly did not think you would." "Neither did I admitted. "But your letter seemed sincere." "It is. I am so sorry, Lester, for everything." We talked for the full hour allotted, About the accident. The aftermath, our parents' reaction. Noah confirmed that our father had indeed tried to bribe the officer and was now facing his own legal troubles. Dad still does not get it, Noah said, shaking his head. He thinks this can all be fixed with money or connections. He does not understand that some things cannot be undone. Like Tyler's brain injury, I said, referencing his friend who had been in the passenger seat. Noah's eyes filled with tears. The doctors say he may never be the same. His parents will not even talk to me, and I do not blame them. I visit him when they allow it, but usually they do not want me there. For the first time, I saw my brother taking full responsibility for his actions and their impact on others. It did not erase what he had done, but it was a start toward becoming someone better than he had been. Before I left, Noah said something that stayed with me. You know what the craziest part is? If you had done what Mom and Dad wanted, if you had lied and taken the blame, it would not have helped me. It would have just taught me again that I never have to face consequences, that someone will always bail me out. I would have ended up doing something even worse down the line. 2 months later, Noah pleaded guilty to all charges. The judge, noting his clean prior record and genuine remorse, sentenced him to 3 years in prison with eligibility for parole after 18 months plus 5 years of probation and significant community service focused on drunk driving. Prevention. My father, still unrepentant, was sentenced to 6 months in county jail and a hefty fine for his attempt to obstruct justice. The family finances, already strained from legal fees, took another hit. My mother called again this time, asking for financial help with their mortgage. We might lose the house, Lester. Your father's business is suffering with him away, and these legal bills. 2 years have passed since that night when police knocked on my hotel room door. The road since then has been difficult but ultimately healing. I spent 6 months in therapy, working through the family dynamics that had shaped so much of my self-image and behavior. I learned to set boundaries, to recognize manipulation, and to value myself, even when others did not. Noah served 18 months of his sentence before being released on parole for good behavior. He enrolled in community college, studying social work, with the goal of helping troubled youth. We meet for coffee every few weeks. Our relationship is different now, more balanced and honest. He no longer expects preferential treatment, and I no longer feel resentment toward him. We are building something new, something healthier than what came before. My parents remain a more complicated story. My father, after serving his time, expected everything to return to normal. He was shocked to find his social standing diminished, his business connections more reluctant to associate with him. Rather than reflecting on his actions, he has doubled down on blaming me for starting this whole mess by refusing to lie for Noah. My mother fluctuates between attempts to rebuild our relationship and guilt trips about my betrayal of the family. I maintain limited contact, protecting my hard-won peace of mind. Aunt Claire remains a steady support, telling me she is proud of how I have handled everything. As for my car, I eventually saved enough to buy another Mustang, this time in blue. I enjoy it, but it does not hold the same significance as that first one did. I have learned that material possessions, while nice to have, are far less important than integrity, self-respect, and healthy relationships. The most meaningful outcome of this painful chapter has been my volunteer work with a local organization that supports victims of drunk driving accidents. Twice a month, I share my story with high school students, emphasizing that true love for family and friends means holding them accountable, not enabling dangerous behavior. Standing your ground does not always make you popular, but it often makes you the person you can respect when you look in the mirror each morning. Has there been a time when you had to choose between family expectations and doing what you knew was right? Share your story in the comments below. If this resonated with you, please hit that like button, subscribe to hear more real-life experiences, and share this video with someone who might be struggling with similar family pressure. Thank you for listening, and remember that sometimes the hardest choices lead to the most necessary growth.